There's.
All right, it's 5:30 and that we will call the meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sonia, did you roll call, please?
Commissioner Shaw,
Here.
Commissioner Corbin,
Here.
Commissioner Wire,
Here.
Commissioner Digital,
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda and table the OLM discussion and possible action related to the issue.
So do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
I'll second. I'll second.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under appearances and acknowledgements, we're just going to acknowledge that the FEMA disaster declaration for May 12th storm event, has been declared. So moving on to the consent calendar, is anyone that anything you want removed from the consent calendar? If not, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under new business, review Lake County pre-disaster mitigation plan. And I will ask Jameson if you want to address that.
Every 5 years, every county in the state is obligated to update our pre-disaster mitigation plan, every county and every city, I should say. And generally what's done is that cities are covered underneath the county's plan. We have Peyton with First District here with us tonight, and she would like to go over the plan and hold discussion on the topic.
All right, so I'll just take a couple minutes here, guys, or hopefully not too many. So we did meet with the city staff originally to kind of go through and update Madison's portion of the plan. So now we'll just double check it all with you. If you guys have any changes, feel free to make any recommendations, as well as the public is welcome to join in as well. So do you guys have copies?
It's in our packet.
Okay, then I do have copies for the public, if anyone would like. And then I do have to have you all sign on a sign-in sheet to show FEMA that we met. So we just pass that around while I'm talking, that would be great. So like Jameson said, this is something we have to update every 5 years. Keeps you guys eligible for when those disaster declarations are declared to be able to get funding. Not just through the county, but on your own individually. So the main thing, the first thing that we fill out with the city each time is a risk assessment worksheet. So we look at all the natural hazards that affect the county, and then the city of Madison specifically. So talking with the city staff, they said pretty much everything that we see countywide, statewide, you guys deal with, extreme heat and cold, flooding really high, heavy rain and snow. Sometimes that wildfire and urban fire, kind of a mix of all. And then on the low, they said maybe some like dam failure, drought, stuff that you see every couple years, ice jams and culverts, but not typically every year, not having to deal with it all the time. And then in the never really to occur is earthquakes, landslides, and then subsidence, which is like it's kind of like a sinking deal. So then on the flip side of that, we look at all these same hazards. It's about 20 different hazards. And then they rate them, if it was gonna happen, like let's say the big tornado hit, how much damage would it affect the city? So how much would you guys have to be dealing with cleaning up, or infrastructure would you have to worry about getting hit, such as utilities, streets closing down, that type of stuff. And they said really the big ones was flooding, since you guys had to deal with that so much lately. The freezing rain, sleet and ice, and then tornado were really the big three. They said more medium vulnerability, but not happening very often, would be drought, heavy snow, and then strong winds. And then pretty much all of the rest were put in the low category, unless they weren't a hazard at all, like the earthquake, the landslide, and subsidence. So is there anything we kind of on those two worksheets that you guys wouldn't agree with or would want to see moved up a column or down a column? Does that look pretty good? Okay, easy enough. So then another big part of this is looking at all the critical infrastructure, either owned by the city or even within the city. So this can be some privately owned entities such as like assisted living, apartments. And they did add a couple in, such as the Lakeview Tower apartments weren't in last time, and a couple different multiplex apartments that have been added in. And then I think another Heritage Assisted Living Center. And then there were a couple, let's see, there was one park that wasn't listed, so they added East Center Park. And then new water tower, both of the three substations weren't on last time. And then they did decide to include Global Polymers and Manitou, just because they are such a large company. If something were to happen, it's so many people gathered at one place. I'm sure they do have their own emergency action plans, but it would be something the city would probably have to worry about. There's a lot of people congregated in this area. So those were all the new places that they added. Some of the old ones would be anything owned by the city or even the county buildings in the city. And then any usually schools or parks, community centers are added as well, since children are typically a higher risk population. Any questions on that area? Okay, pretty straightforward.
Makes sense.
Say pretty straightforward. Okay, so then the last part, really the heavy lift, the part that FEMA likes to look at every year is the problem statement. So this would be, you know, if all of the money was raining from the sky, they were handing out grants like nothing, what problems or what areas would you want to address first within the city? So a lot of the projects that they listed did have to do with drainage, so either replacing culverts. There was some talk about constructing a retention dam on Park Creek. There was also some projects related to electric utility lines, so just burying some new lines in the city and then installing some new curb and gutter. Those were really the biggest ones, were elevating streets, curb and gutter, making sure to keep the riprap cleaned out of the creeks. And then really the only two new projects that they added was again with utility lines. So looking at doing some upgrades for the substations, especially at connection points, and then purchasing some sewer inspection equipment, which we kind of spoke a lot about being an eligible project, making sure the lines are that they're acting well, there's no cracks, all that stuff. So any questions from you guys? If not, that's really it from me. Would any comments from the public or questions? If not, that's really it from me, and I'll just ask that each of you sign in, and then I'll take that and go.
One comment I have is on the agenda
yeah.
tonight, we've got review of the Army Corps Section 22 study. They have a couple recommendations in there, one being the retention dam that is mentioned in here already.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think adding in the other recommendations would be probably appropriate to get as much stuff in here as possible in case that funding becomes available.
Okay,
And we can
yeah.
just talk more
Do they have specific project or recommendations listed in the study? Because I didn't hear from Cody that the project that just came back.
Yeah, there's three specific individual actions, with one of them being the retention dam that's already in.
So one is, okay, so then there'd be two new
There'll be two
ones.
more. Yeah, we
Okay,
can talk
and
more this week. And I can-
That's fine, yeah, we can add those in later, that would be fine.
Thank you.
All right, perfect, I'll just make a note and the projects from the study, so.
Any questions or comments?
Just let me take some-
Thank you. I don't know.
Oh, I don't think any action.
Okay, number two, presentation of the Army Corps Section 22 draft report. Are you gonna cover that, or do we have someone here?
I can come up and help. We were gonna have somebody joining on Zoom. I've not seen anybody on there. No. I can give a quick overview of this study. So this Army Corps, they call it Section 22 study. It evaluates flood risk and then presents mitigation options as well. As everybody knows here, the city is prone to flooding, and as we've had several large flood events in recent history. This is currently in draft form yet, so there might be some final changes, but we do not expect anything significant to be changed before the final draft is adopted. I will say that there's 3 individual findings that the plan outlines. One is detention pond north of town. One would be detention pond northwest of town, so we have 2 tributaries that come in. And essentially one is on either side of those. And then the third options are larger railroad culverts. Each of the options have their own pros and cons with different cost benefits ratios that they present in there as well. I think that any of the improvements, if there's an opportunity to do so, would have a positive impact on flood mitigation efforts. Ryan, do you have anything to add?
No, not really. I mean, I guess just going back a ways a few years, the city had been planning to update the flood study from the 95 banner study, which included amongst other things, those 2 detention dams. The city was in the planning process of doing that actually in the flood of 2019 hit. And so as a result, this planning assistance to state study was commissioned, has now been completed. As Jameson said, we had invited Rachel Williams, she's a project manager with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, to provide some dialogue and a summary of the presentation. She did indicate that she was going to call in or Zoom in. I wish she was here because then she could say things much better than I can, but I'm certainly stand by with any questions you might have.
It looks like we only looked at the northern creeks, if you will. We didn't address Silver Creek at all, and I don't remember why, but is there any way to add that?
I think Silver Creek, when they looked at that, they determined that really the only way to best prevent Silver Creek was kind of to go around town. And so that was going to be a different project altogether. Yeah, it was never included in that scope for this. To do any detention dams or anything.
You know what the next step would be if we decide to move forward or be involved in funding a potential project?
Yeah, I would say the next step would be another core study, would be section 205 study. That's more where the river hits the road.
I probably won't be on the commission by the time that was done. This just took a really long time.
Yeah.
So I think we should keep moving. I don't know what the process is to finalize this study, but
Right. Yeah, so it is in draft stage. It can go to final stage very soon if there's no other comments or anything that need to be included.
We can place that on the website for the public to review if they would like. It is a very large file, so certainly larger something we put into our agenda. We can place it on the website for review.
One of the things that I think is nice in that too, since the 95 study is back in 95, and that, the thoughts on people's minds when we started talking about, putting a dam north of Madison, and they thought of the Rapid City flood, that we were going to be building a big lake. And since 95, we've got a number of retention dams put in town, and I think the people see the benefit of it. And so I think, moving forward, it would be much easier this time around, because the public already has retention dams in town, and they understand that they basically just hold it back for a short time and then drain out and dry up. So. All right.
I would say if there's no questions, we can move forward, and if for some reason she jumps on here a little late, we could jump back.
how many pages is it?
So the study is 34 pages, but then there's some other.
There's 5 appendixes that are all really lengthy as well.
And there isn't anything other than just, we've acknowledged that there's a motion that we really need on this, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so. All right, thank you. And Ryan, if you want to stay put there, and then we will move on to number 3, review and award bid number 913, Northwest 9th Street and Union Avenue project 2022-1, contingent upon approval from the DANR.
This item, we received 3 bids on time for the bid opening. The low bid is from Winter Contracting in the amount of $3,475,000. The engineer's estimate was almost 3.6 million, so it's a little under that. This is a project that we had previously bid out until we learned that SRF funding was not eligible based on the bid documents. So we had restarted the bidding process. Through that, now we have eligibility for SRF funding, and that secures us $1 million. Basically, $1 million is what our current estimates are if that'll be available for this project, in addition to loans with very favorable interest rates on the remaining costs. This project will be started in 2022 this fall, broken in two parts. The second part being in the construction season of 2023. I think that's all I have. Randy, anything else to add?
No, I guess nail down some dates. We'd be looking at construction starting around August 15th, substantial completion around October 28th, and final completion in November. That would be from Chicago Avenue west to Highland Avenue this year. Yeah.
Other questions or comments?
Last thing I'll note is, I said the low bid was just under 3.5 million. The other bids were 3.75 and 3.79. So all fairly close to each other and being competitive bids.
We worked with Winter Contracting in the past. And we think they'll do this job well.
What was the start date?
August 15th.
Other questions?
I'll make a
comments?
motion to award bid number 913 Northwest Ninth Street, Union Avenue project 2022. Contingent upon approval from Danner to Winter Brothers in the amount of Winter Incorporated. What's that number? 3,583,800. Oh, wrong number. 3,475,000.
You got it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 4, authorize the mayor to sign the construction management services agreement with Banner and Associates, Northwest 9th Street, Union Avenue project 2022-1.
Banner has provided us a proposal for construction administration services in the amount of an amount not to exceed $224,800. This would be to oversee the project, work with the contractor and the city to implement the project as needed. We have not had any agreement with any engineering firm up until this point, so Banner has provided us a proposal. They are doing the construction administration on other projects in town as well, so it works well for our staff to work with one engineering company this summer that can oversee those projects.
Questions, comments? Do we have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 5, action to award the generator plant operating systems update to Harold K. Scholes Company.
The city, in collaboration with assistance from DGR and David Spiegler Company, have undergone an RFP process for improvements at our generator plant. They had conducted interviews, well, they received 5 proposals, in the end interviewed 2 of those entities on this project. What this project does is updating some features of the facility, which just through the nature of time have become obsolete. They'd be installing new control and monitoring systems. Since we've had some turnover with the position of our utility director, we did take a pause on this just to make sure that all of our staff had all the questions answered and could understand the project fully and that it would meet our current needs. After having done that, all staff are comfortable moving forward and excited to see this project implemented. The selected company here is as the agenda says, Harold K. Scholes Company, and the work that would be done in the amount of $410,000.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to award the generator plant operating system update to Harold K. Scholes Company. What was that $410,000?
Yes.
project.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do you have any public comments? Checking that to see. No, seeing none. Announcements, our next commission meeting, the regular meeting will be Monday, July 18th, 2022 at 5:30 PM. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make one other announcement, right?
Yes, sir.
If you shot fireworks off in the city yesterday and left your garbage all over the road, please go out and clean it up. It's not the public works responsibility to clean up after people. Please and thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for attending.